just going to kick off with a bit of a talk about the BIM risk post ISO 19650. So for those of you who don't know, in January there was an international standard called ISO 19650, governs all BIM and BIM-related data management, information management processes, not just in the UK, but across Europe, Australia. For those of you on Twitter, my Twitter handle is buildlaw_RT. I'm generally online discussing topics like this. So impact of the ISO 19650. The first thing to say is not a magic wand. We still need detailed contracts. You will probably now start seeing contracts which say you will comply with ISO 19650 in your BIM processes, full stop, and that's it. Or it'll go the other extreme and they'll have what you sometimes see now, 50-page document, and which will be a combination of the ISO terminology, the old terminology, and there'll be a lot of confusion. So the starting point is always, what does the employer actually want? Do they even know? And you'll probably find where in the extreme where the employer gives you a 50-page document, if you were to ask them, there's 4 pages of deliverables, do you actually want those? And the employer will say, I don't even know what half of those mean. I employed a BIM consultant who wrote me this document, and I assumed it's fit for purpose. So have that discussion. Unfortunately, a lot of employers, over the years, I've seen a lot of tenders, you raise that question, and they like this magic clause, do BIM, or achieve BIM level 2, or any other acronym. It says be a BIM coordinator, be a BIM information manager. None of these things have any legal meaning at all. And I've had countless debates with lots and lots of people in the industry about the meaning of level 2. Now, whilst I understand there's a lot of technical meanings, in a contract, if it says you will achieve level 2, what you think it means and what your employer thinks it means, completely different. You can't point to a set of deliverables and say that's level 2. So you need to set out in more detail. Even if I've written contracts, for example, that say level 2 means X, as between the parties. But now with the ISO 19650, level 2 is actually being replaced by stage 2, or BIM according to the ISO 19650 series, very catchy. And the transition guidance says it's BIM level 2, plus a bit of BIM level 1, plus some BIM level 3 to keep it relevant. The ISO 19650 Part 1, Section 4, does give a longer definition, but as you'll see there, what effectively says is that it's information management processes to generate a federated model. Clear as mud? Well, again, it goes back to what did the document say? If you have a contract that, and I'm sure there will be a lot of them, you will provide BIM according to ISO 19650. ISO 19650 has loads and loads of detailed processes, detailed requirements. However, it doesn't limit what the meaning is. So again, make sure your requirements are precise. Make sure they're actually binding. Half the time, people do lots of really good work with their BIM documentation. It's all the technical documents. They forget to tell their lawyers that these documents exist. Most lawyers don't understand what BIM is. You have to go in and say, look, we're doing this process. These are the issues. They can then draft a contract, but if you don't tell them what the processes are, you can't expect them to understand in the first place. We are preparing, leading a team as part of the guidance framework, and we'll be releasing a legal contractual guidance about ISO 19650. The first summary probably at the end of this month, more detailed guidance in summer. But in the meantime, obviously you have to be doing something as you're signing contracts. So just work out what the best solution is with your legal advisors. Because as the transition guidance pointed out, the standards don't give you a contractual solution. It's always going to be subject to what you agree as between the parties. But there are some immediate impacts that you should be aware of resulting from the ISO. One being the difference between the contractual obligations and the ISO obligations. So in a scenario where you have some BIM requirements in your contract, and then tacked on to the end of that, it says, and you will comply with ISO 19650. Chances are there'll be a lot of requirements that are actually contradictory one to the other in terms of contents of documents, type of deliverables, stages. You want to at least make sure if there is a contradiction, which one takes precedence. Next one, terminology and acronyms, because we love a good acronym in the BIM scene. ISO introduces a whole new lot of acronyms, different terminology. Again, if you're just cutting and pasting from the ISO into your documentation, you'll find some of the terminology used is used in a different way in the rest of your contract. For example, the ISO uses appointment because it needs to be neutral, and the Europeans didn't want to use contract. And they use client instead of employer, appointing party. There's a lot of different new types of clauses, and you need to work out, I don't know, have a glossary, or in the definition say this has the same meaning as that word in the ISO. Next one is process and required documentation. As said, the ISO is very, very detailed as to what it wants, and it's a very good document. It will reduce your risk if you follow it. However, you need to work out at each stage, firstly, are you complying with it if you do want to, but how does it sit with the processes you actually have in place? And you may find in some cases it's not actually suitable for your project. You want to do something else. And last one, responsibility matrix. A lot of non-BIM contracts do have responsibility matrices anyway. If you're doing a BIM project and you use the CIC BIM protocol, the second edition has a responsibility matrix. But the ISO Part 2 also talks about having a very specific responsibility matrix with specific contents. So you could have a situation where you have one contract with 3 documents all called the same thing. And from a legal perspective, if you have a clause which says you will do the following as regards the responsibility matrix, and you say, well, which one do you mean? And you spend a lot of time, a lot of money trying to argue the point. So just a bit of a checklist there, because I always find it easy to compile things into a short way. It's about working out, are things standardized, who's doing what, what's the process, and also are you insured? Don't think, if you're BIM coordinator, BIM information manager, tell your broker, because it's like an architect being an engineer. It's not the same thing. It's not a tack on to what you're doing already. It's not a problem, but talk to your broker, do I have cyber risk cover if the models suddenly disappear and get corrupted? Or putting it another way, who does what, when and how, and just keep asking yourself that question. And finally, if you are interested in BIM legal matters, I chair a group called BIM for Legal. We are on Twitter, and we also have an email address if you want to sign up to our mailing list. We have regular events for the industry, for lawyers. Send your legal advisors to us to learn more about BIM. It's different aspects about the legal and contractual issues. And that's just my contact details. If you ever have any questions, I'm always happy to chat about BIM and related technologies.